One of the greatest superhero shows of all time, and really one of the greatest TV shows of all time, period, was released just over 10 years ago. And when I first found out about the show, I was in grade 8. So it was around 2020. I was 14 years old. And I decided, you know what? Daredevil's an awesome character. I really like Daredevil, so I put on this show and I decided to watch it. What I didn't expect was for this show to single handedly change the way that I view television shows and how they should be made. Daredevil Season 1 blew me away from the moment I watched the very first episode. The very first episode, just the one episode, was enough for me to solidify this show as one of the best shows ever. And it was from that first episode that I knew that this was going to be my favorite show of all time. Daredevil is a story based on the character of Matt Murdock. Now, Matt Murdock is a lawyer, a blind lawyer. He was blinded as a kid due to a chemical spill on the road, and it pretty much like took away his ability to see. However, in his ability to see being removed, he also gained an enhancement in every single one of his other senses to the point where he could hear bones shift when people breathe, or he could tell whether a person is lying or not by detecting their heartbeat. He became almost superhuman in that regard. And thanks to the training that he received as a kid from his mentor Stick, he decided to combine his enhanced senses with his martial arts skills to defend the streets of Hell's Kitchen in New York City as the legendary vigilante known as Daredevil. Now, this first season was very much a nice little change for me because the Daredevil comics that I had read before watching the show were very much like the 60s, 70s. They were like the old school comics. I read like a lot of the old school comics. And even though I'm like very much that those comics are very much before my time, those are the comics that I got to know Daredevil as a character, and also some of the Spider-Man comics too, because he is a character who is very much involved in Spider-Man. Matter of fact, the villain of this very first season is actually also a Spider-Man villain, which we will get to in a minute. But this show was much darker than anything that I had read. And also a lot of the shows that I'd watched, I mean, I was coming like this is me coming off of my childhood. So I was still watching a lot of like Cartoon Network and all that stuff before I ever watched the show. This was like the first truly serious show that I ever watched. Like the first really mature show that I ever watched. And it pretty much just changed my perception of how television shows could be made and how well they could be brought to life through mature themes, through like hardcore, epic, well choreographed action sequences. Like this show genuinely has some of, if not the best action sequences I've ever seen in any movie or any TV show. The only movie that would rival the choreography of this show would probably be the Raid movies. And the Raid movies, as we all know, are peak and they are amazing. So yeah, I don't really need to go into detail as to why I think that those are the only movies that could compete with Daredevil in terms of fight choreography. But this show is absolutely incredible when it comes to the action sequences. I was absolutely blown away by the action. The very first episode that I watched with the fight scene in the rain, that was absolutely beautiful. It was so well shot and so like it was well lit. I mean, it's a dark environment, but the way in which they like brought the darkness and like the grittiness to life was absolutely incredible. And the way in which Daredevil and his opponent were moving in the rain, it just felt so gritty and realistic. That's what I like about the show. This show is gritty and super realistic. In the second episode, during the hallway fight, when you're watching Matt like take on all these guys, you can tell that this is a human being. Matthew Murdock, at the end of the day, is a human being, right? He's not like a super soldier like Captain America who can fight all day and has infinite endurance. When you're watching Matt take out all these guys in the hallway, you can see how tired he is. He's slowly and progressively getting more and more tired. And as he gets more tired, his fight moves become sloppier. His technique becomes less exotic. It becomes um, less fluid. And I think that that's an incredibly beautiful detail about this show is that they know exactly how things would go in the real world. Matt struggled to beat up all these guys in the hallway. And obviously as this episodes went on and the seasons went on, he got better and better. But like this is you can tell that this is a guy who's not like he's not infallible, he's not bulletproof, he's not knife proof, he's not anything proof. He can still be shot, he can still be stabbed, and he knows he could very well be killed, but regardless he puts his life on the line despite being tired, despite having over a dozen stitches on his body, despite having cuts and bruises and scrapes everywhere. He keeps going out every night and fighting for his city. That's something I find to be so beautiful about the character of Matt Murdock. I think it's beautiful the way in which this character is portrayed. And he's played so well by Charlie Cox. Charlie Cox delivered an absolutely beautiful performance as Matt Murdock and Daredevil. Every single scene, every single emotional scene, every single like action sequence, it truly felt like this guy is Daredevil. This guy's 100% Daredevil. In the human moments, and in the like blind guy dressed as a ninja fighting thugs moments. Like he's just so good as this character. And I'm really glad that they chose Charlie Cox to portray Daredevil because I could not see anyone else playing him as well as he does. And of course, I have to talk about Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin. This guy is absolutely brilliant as the Kingpin. I think he was also another perfect choice, and I think he's one of the best villains in the MCU. He he and Matt are very similar in what they want for their city. They just want to make their city a better place. But Kingpin has a very different idea as to how to make his city a better place as composed to Matt. Matt believes that he needs to save the city, he needs to protect the city, whereas Kingpin believes in fixing it. So it's like the saving versus fixing kind of thing, and that's what makes them rivals. They have the same objective, they have the same goal, but they have very different ideas of how to get there. And I think that they portrayed that rivalry between the two of them extremely well. And they even have like a callback, like they even have like little mini callbacks throughout the series where Kingpin tells Matt to take a shot after Matt tells him he's gonna kill him, and then they reference that again in the final episode, but this time it's Matt telling Kingpin to take his shot. And I just think that their rivalry is extremely interesting. I think Vincent D'Onofrio gave a fantastic performance as like this broken man with a very traumatic childhood, who's made a lot of mistakes, who's done some very bad things, but is also deep down a man who wants to do good, but just doesn't believe in the same idea of good that Matt believes in. And I think that that dynamic, and I think the way in which they portrayed Kingpin in this first season is actually really well done. Because when you think of Kingpin, a lot of time you just think of some big dude who's just like a Spider-Man villain. And he just wants to be evil for the sake of being evil. But in this series, they actually gave him layers, and they actually understood how to make this character more impactful, a much deeper and more interesting character. And I really truly appreciated that. And I really love how much chemistry the characters in this series have. Like even Claire, when she was introduced in the earlier episodes, I think her dynamics with Matt were very interesting. Being like his night nurse, I guess, and like for one episode, his love interest. I really love the chemistry and the dynamics between Karen Page and Foggy Nelson and Matt. All three of them as like a trio of Nelson, Murdoch, and Page. I think that that's a very interesting dynamic, and I'm really glad that Matt has like these two really good friends that stick by him, even though they're not aware of what he's doing in the night and what's really going on after the whole lawyer shtick by the day. But they are good friends who do their best to be there for him, despite him struggling to let people in and struggling to process his emotions. He still has people by his side that want to help him and they want to be with him through everything, right? And I think that's really interesting, and especially Foggy. I mean, we have an episode dedicated to their entire friendship, and how they became friends in college. And I think that and the way in which they did that episode, you don't get a lot of those kind of episodes in superhero shows where it's just like diving into the backstory of how two guys became best friends and how the one best friend had just had no idea what his best friend was doing late at night in the shadows, you know? So I honestly think that this show and this first season specifically, because I'm going to be talking about the other two seasons in my next few videos, this first season was absolutely beautiful, absolutely incredible, and it concluded in the best way possible with Matt officially getting his suit because he spent most of the first season in like the black like online shopped like garments, and he finally gets the Daredevil suit at the very end of the season, and I really did like the way in which they built up to him getting the suit rather than just him having the suit from the beginning. And I actually kind of do like the black homemade suit. So yeah, I thought that this first season was absolutely incredible. It's a masterpiece, and I knew from that first episode that this was going to be one of my favorite TV shows of all time. And this first season is one of the best first seasons of television I've ever seen. And with that in mind, I think that that's going to be it for this video. I'm definitely going to go a lot deeper into this series with my season 2 and season 3 videos. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate every single one of you, and I will see you guys in my next video. Peace.